Shenanigans. Truth, lies, 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 shenanigans.
Oh yeah! Shenanigans. Truth, lies, 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 shenanigans. Oh yeah! Shenanigans. Truth, lies, shenanigans. Truth, lies, shenanigans. Truth, lies, shenanigans. Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Hey friends, welcome to Truth Lies Shenanigans, the live show for Sunday, August 16th, 2020. My name is Neo, and I'll be your guide through all the shenanigans. My co-host for today's show is Professor Lizzie.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday Fun Day.
And also our one-time Professor Jam.
I prefer Mad Professor.
A mad jam professor.
That sounds about right. All right. So today's show will continue our series, The COVID Chronicles, interviewing Dr. Marjorie Simpson to tell us firsthand what's been happening in the nursing homes. Also, for our hot topics, we'll be talking about Trump's new birther conspiracy target, the Lost Blackish episode, and Cuba Gooding argues small-breasted women tend to be delusional.
Dang.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Now remember, we're live everywhere, just about everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitter at TLS Live Show. And as always, we love it when you join in the conversation. You can comment at any of our live feeds. We'll be listening and responding live. All right, hosts, before we get into the show, how you guys doing?
Well, I'm all right. You know,
Most of us are chilling at home still in COVID.
chilling at home. I will say this. The fall semester at Howard University starts Monday, August 24th. So I am going to be in a mood starting the following week. Just to prepare y'all.
So,
one question, Professor. Are you not in a mood now?
I'm in a better mood now, but that mood starting next week. Both Howard and CUNY, Graduate School of Journalism, so two different universities. So I'm going to be a little stressed.
I have a simple dumb ask. Are you guys working out during the COVID thing?
Working out what?
Just working out. Are you working out, exercise?
Working outside. Actually, I've been riding at least once a month. I have these two insane triathlete friends who have convinced me to go on these long bike rides, and they're so much faster than me. It's like riding with your parents when you're a little kid.
I've been there. I've been there. It's tough.
I have a full gym in my building. And I have yet to see that gym in 2020. So that should answer your question.
Okay, all right. So that's
what about you? Have you been at Posh?
Well, yeah. So, I took a box.
Your wife own
I own a fitness. My wife owns a fitness studio. Yeah, shameless plug. Posh Cycling and Fitness. www.posh.fit. But I took a boxing class actually with this guy. His name is G3. He's a professional boxer. He's like freaking awesome. He's a good teacher. I'm telling you, I'm sore. I'm sore as hell today. My whole body is sore.
I want to work out with G5. I'm gonna be honest with you. His network is better. G5's network is better.
3G is better.
So
I'm here to say G3 is better. So Posh.fit, you gotta sign up for his class. But it's really good. We used to have the Vanilla Gorilla, but
Oh, what?
You got the G. Don't be mad till you get Gorilla Eyes. He was no joke either.
He was good. No, no lie. He was good. All right. So if you've never seen our show, let me tell you what Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans is all about. We'll be sharing our truths and opinions with you, calling out the lies, and pointing out the shenanigans going on. And on this show, we always try to have fun with shenanigans of our own. But there's one rule for the hosts. No cussing. If you're caught cussing, yes, Lizzie, there's a $10 penalty. And if you guys are caught 3 times in the same show, we'll be sending a letter on your behalf.
Lizzie.
Great letters. We fell in love.
To your boy. So
Lizzie.
Yeah, Lizzie's way in the lead. By the way, Jam added another $10 last show.
So did Z. Z dropped a cut.
Oh, Z did one? Oh, I got to add. Oh, that's right. That was the first one. Yep.
Yeah, she caught herself. She was like, oh.
Hey, remember on Wednesday's show, East slid one underneath.
I didn't forget it. I already updated his.
He ended up confessing.
That was an underhanded pitch.
All right, so we have a special segment now. Now, we've all been frustrated by people spreading lies, people not taking this pandemic seriously, and politicizing it to win votes instead of saving lives. So what Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans wants to do is get rid of all the lies and shenanigans for a minute and just let you hear the truth. There's plenty of lies and misinformation in coronavirus. So Truth, Lies, Shenanigans brings you the truth. Stories directly from the people that lived it, frontline workers and survivors. This is the COVID Chronicles. Today we have with us Dr. Marjorie Simpson, a board-certified geriatric nurse practitioner with her PhD from the University of Maryland School of Nursing. She is currently the Director of Nurse Practitioner Services with Expanding Medicine, treating patients in skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities in Maryland. She is an adjunct faculty member at the George Washington University School of Nursing and Stevenson University. She lives in Northern Maryland with her wife, Lisa, her son, Liam, and Dr. Simpson is also certified open water scuba diver, enjoying running, cycling, and making fart noises with Liam. She is celebrating 30 years of nursing this year. Thank you so much for joining us for the COVID Chronicles segment, Dr. Simpson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So let's just get started. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do currently and your background? Anything that we might have missed?
Yeah, I'm a geriatric nurse practitioner. I started out as a registered nurse, and early in my career, I started working in nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities, and just really loved taking care of older adults, really loved being in that environment because you get to know your patients. In the hospital, you only know your patient for a few hours or a few days, or, you know, if there's COVID-19, maybe a few weeks. But in the nursing home, we know our residents for years and years and years. And I just always loved that. I became a nurse practitioner and continued to work in skilled nursing facilities. I work for a small practice in Carroll County, Northern Maryland, and there are 3 providers in our practice. We're in 5 nursing homes and I think 4 or 5 nurse assisted livings. When the COVID pandemic started, we didn't want to risk that all 3 of the providers would get sick or be exposed to COVID-19 at the same time. So we used to rotate between all of the buildings, but we stopped rotating. And I have been in 2 facilities since the pandemic started. One of those facilities was hit pretty hard with a COVID outbreak.
Oh boy.
The other facility has been fortunate and hasn't had any COVID patients.
That's awesome. So of course we're aware about the initial outbreak in Seattle. That was all over the news, you know, ravaged that nursing home. So in that particular nursing home where you had the COVID outbreak, you know, what was going on? What did you see?
Well, we saw patients who started having symptoms, and there were about 6 patients who at the same time developed a cough or a fever. And we had just gotten some testing kits from the health department. Early in the pandemic, nobody knew where to get testing kits from. Nobody had them. We were fighting to get PPE, and the health department had helped us out. So we tested those few symptomatic patients, and 4 out of 6 were positive.
Wow.
And got very sick very quickly. So what we have to do is we have to separate the sick people from the healthy people to prevent it from spreading around the building. And we had to create a COVID unit with plastic zipper walls to try and contain the virus and keep the virus contained to just the people who are already positive. That was sort of our first wave. And shortly after that, we had multiple patients on the first floor on one unit who started to develop symptoms, fever, cough. And in Maryland, Governor Hogan had developed the nursing home strike team to help nursing homes in a COVID outbreak. And the strike team came in and tested the whole building.
Wow.
Wow. And we, after that, had another large number of residents who tested positive for COVID. It just progressed. Go ahead.
You mentioned PPE, and I know there is you did a video and you posted about PPE shortages that were happening, and it kind of went viral, and then I think you were interviewed on WBAL about it. I'm just going to show a really quick clip, and then I want you to just tell us what was going on.
Officially isolated myself from my family to protect them. There's a really big disparity in how personal protective equipment, or PPE, is available. And if you have any N95s or face shields, PM me and give them up to the healthcare workers. So if it gets into that building, it's going to be really bad. A lot of people are going to die. They can't get face shields. They got credit cards. I will buy them. They will buy them from you.
Yeah. So tell us what was going on.
Gosh, that is just me absolutely frustrated. We could not get PPE. And, back in March, the whole world needed the same thing. Everybody needed face shields. Everybody needed N95 face masks. And the nursing homes really struggled with that because the hospitals are part of these, big medical groups, and they have much stronger buying power than nursing homes do. And we were trying to figure out how to make face shields. And I had so many people mail me face shields. Dr. Lim, a dentist in Montgomery County, his office was closed, and he had called all of his dentist friends and collected PPE and brought it to me, and I was able to deliver PPE to 9 different nursing homes. So in the middle of a pandemic, I'm also struggling to try to get PPE out to help people.
Yeah, actually, I saw one of the videos. I saw the WBAL interview, and you were actually trying to make a mask. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, somebody had seen something about making a face shield using a headband and a page protector, and I was excited. I was like, okay, I'll make headbands. I'll go get some, and I made it and I put it on, and it was horrible. Nobody could work with that on their face, and it was just terrible. But thanks to a lot of donations that came in, we were able to get PPE. And then as supply chains started opening up, that has not been as much of a problem over the past 2 months than it was initially when the pandemic started.
All right, Lizzie. Seem to be muted, Lizzie.
Not good. Okay, so Dr. Simpson, I have a question about awareness as it relates to your patients in the nursing home. Like, how did you get the word out to them about what was going on? Were they made aware by, a big conversation? Did everyone congregate together? Or were they aware? Did they understand what the pandemic was like outside of the nursing home and what was happening across the country and why they were perhaps getting sick?
Well, at that, early in the pandemic, there were a lot of news stories. That's when we were seeing stories from New York with, refrigerator trucks filling up with dead bodies. there were it was very well known that this was something that could kill people. And I started very early on, before we even had COVID in the building, talking to my patients, or for those patients who have dementia and a family member helps them make decisions. I started talking to them about, okay, there's a possibility that we could have the virus in the building and that you could get sick. And what would you like to do? And a lot of my patients said, I don't want to be on a ventilator. If I get sick, I want to be here. Can you make me comfortable? And I said, yeah, I can make you comfortable. I had some patients who said, yeah, I want everything done. And so we had that plan going in to the pandemic of what we were going to do.
So I have a question.
Lizzie.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
I had a question to piggyback on that question. I have an uncle who's in hospice down in Florida, and one of the issues with him, one of the issues that I've heard about is visitation with family members. How have you guys set that up, and have you seen any decline in patient health that you think is like a result of lack of that, or anything along those lines?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's been really, really hard for family members who can't come in. It's been really, really hard for a lot of our residents as well, particularly those residents who have dementia and they're used to a family member coming in a couple times a week or maybe even every day and maybe sitting with them for a meal and helping them with a meal. We've had some residents who became depressed and who had some weight loss. And we're very fortunate that we have a psychiatrist and a psychiatric nurse practitioner who are in the building every week to help provide psychiatric services to our residents. But that has definitely been a challenge. People, you really, really miss having that contact with their family members. Now, they've done a lot of Skype visits with family members that, they've taken the tablet around, but it's not the same.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. What about your staff? Like, what's the protocol or what's the daily routine for your staff? Like, are they quarantined in the hospital? Are they allowed to go home? How does that work? And how have they been affected personally?
It's been very challenging for the staff, and a lot of the staff members are moms, and they worry about taking this home to family members, or maybe they have a family member who's elderly or has multiple comorbidities that put them more at risk. The normal routine now is anybody who comes in the building has a mask on. And then all full PPE if we're on the COVID unit with eye protection, face shield. We've had the white jumpsuits, isolation gowns, everything to try and protect our staff as well. And, there have been in the state of Maryland 11 nursing home staff members who have died from COVID-19.
Wow, staff members in Maryland?
Wow.
So frontline workers.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that people have forgotten that the nursing homes are the front line too. And most of our residents who contracted COVID-19 stayed right in the nursing home and never went to the hospital. We were able to treat them. Those, who were not very sick were able to recover in the nursing home. Those who were very, very sick and did not want a lot of aggressive measures, we kept them in the nursing home, and I ordered morphine and made sure that they weren't suffering.
Jan?
Wow, that's amazing. What has been your response as someone who is on the front line? Remember in the early stages, I would say like March, April, May, you had a lot of pushback from the government or a lot of pushback from people who didn't believe this virus was a hoax. who believe that this virus was a hoax, or believe that, okay, well, it's only affecting the elderly, so we can sacrifice them. It's not that big of a deal. Like, what was that like for you to hear that coming from so many different corners?
It's really very sad to me, and this is a country where a lot of people do not have a problem with ageism and thinking, well, they're old anyway. Well, that person was on hospice anyway, and then they died of COVID. What's the difference? The ageism, I think, is a really big problem. And there's a stigma associated with nursing homes. When people hear that patients die in the hospital from COVID-19, they don't blame the doctors and the nurses. They blame the virus. When people hear that a nursing home patient died from COVID-19, their first thought is that facility must be a terrible facility. Those staff members must be absolutely terrible. They're not washing their hands. They're not wearing PPE. And that couldn't be the furthest from the truth.
So I have a question in that vein of the last question. So now current presidential administration has a habit of not telling the truth and flip-flopping on things like wearing masks, reopening the schools, reopening localities. As a medical professional, do you feel that this pandemic has been politicized for personal gain? And do you think this had an effect on the spread of the virus itself?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of people have died because of Trump and his unwillingness to address this pandemic appropriately, and a lot more people are going to die as well.
Cam, did you have a question?
I do. I have several. First off, the strike team. I'm interested in the strike team that came through. How often does that work? How does that work in the state of Maryland, as you understand it?
Governor Hogan set up this strike team of nurses and doctors, and there were actually nurses that came from all over the country to come and work with the strike team. So if there was an outbreak in a building, a nursing home is not set up to care for 20, 30, 40, 50 sick patients at a time. If they needed extra staff and they didn't have enough staff to run the building, the administrator could call and they would send members from the strike team over. And it absolutely saved my one building. There was an amazing nurse there from North Carolina who was an ER nurse and came to Maryland to work in a nursing home, and she was fantastic during the outbreak. We were able to call them. It was temporary, but it was extra hands, and that model in Maryland was really, really successful and became a model for other states as well.
Wow. Yeah. So my other question is a totally different swerve on this. I want you to look into the future and tell me stuff I know you have no idea about. No, it's a different type of question. So I have a thing, like there's always talk about the difference between a rural existence and like an urban city existence. And so as a person who works primarily with nursing homes and smaller facilities along those lines, with that same sort of difference, I know there's like the idea that COVID is much easier to spread in an urban environment. But as you have those environments within a more rural area as compared to where we are sort of here on the East Coast, do you see any major differences? Do you see any difference in approaches? Anything along those lines that you could share and talk about?
In Maryland, I know that there have been larger clusters of COVID in urban locations, and that also was reflected in the COVID-19 rates in nursing homes. There is a website, every week they update the website on Wednesday with all of the COVID numbers in each nursing home in Maryland. And some of the larger facilities in Baltimore just had terrible, terrible COVID outbreaks that started back in March and are still continuing now. Not just with large numbers of staff or residents rather who are positive, but also large numbers of staff members as well. I've never seen anything spread like this before.
Lizzie, I know you had a question, and then I want to get to some online questions.
Yeah, I was going to get to an online question from before. So one of our guests or followers had mentioned or asked the question about stabilization. Like, we are here at August 16th now. So what does your facilities look like now? Have you guys stabilized? Are you on the downward spiral as it relates to the virus? Or is it still some type of uncertainty, especially as we get into the fall and the possibility of a second wave coming on?
And that question comes from Ripple.
So my facility that had the outbreak currently does not have any staff members or any residents who are COVID positive. And it is a huge relief. And I'm hoping that we stay that way for the next few months. The most recent research is showing that people who contract COVID-19 will carry the antibodies for about 4 months. Mm-hmm. And then the antibodies really start to drop off. So my big outbreak was in May.
Okay.
I really expect by October, we could be seeing another wave going through. Wow. I will say this, we're doing things differently than we were early in the pandemic. And, everything changes every day. And right now it is mandated by the health department that every single nursing home staff member is tested for COVID-19 once a week. And if any staff member comes back positive, then they have to test the whole house. So I'm hoping that this helps us identify people who are possibly asymptomatic carriers a lot earlier and get them in quarantine so that we can protect our nursing home patients.
Okay. Are family members now allowed to visit your facility?
Good question.
In Maryland, if your building has been COVID-free for, I think it's 14 days with no positives, you can have limited visitation outside. They have to schedule appointments. They still have to social distance, and it can only be, I think, 2 people at a time. But yes, we are starting to do that. I also want to say that we have been allowed to allow essential visits from family members. If I had somebody who was actively dying, we could absolutely approve the family to come in. They were screened just like the staff members. Their temperature was checked. They had to wear a mask. They had to wear PPE. But nobody died without family member coming in if that's what they wish to do.
So I have a question. I do have another online question as well. But so in the nursing home, I'm sure, unfortunately, you're pretty used to seeing people passing away. But what is different about what COVID looks like? What does that look like to you? Because I'm hearing some pretty major horror stories about what that looks like.
We have had, I have had residents who were very fortunate and were asymptomatic and positive and never had a fever, never had a cough. I have had patients who were symptomatic, but it wasn't that bad. Maybe their symptoms lasted for a week. And then I've had patients who absolutely horrific horrific. And I remember one little lady, oh gosh, she was just really uncomfortable, and her sister was making decisions for her. She didn't want her to be intubated. She just wanted us to keep her there and keep her comfortable. And we were just giving her morphine, which helps that sensation of air hunger. And we let her sister come in and say goodbye to her. And her sister just took one look at her and just like almost collapsed. And, I had forgotten how shocking it is for someone to see a COVID patient in that acute respiratory distress for the first time. And it's absolutely horrible. I have had trouble sleeping. I've had nightmares about it.
I'm sorry.
Well, and just before Neo goes to the next, online question, that makes me ask you, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. I am not ashamed to say that I did start scheduling appointments with a therapist just to do a little check-in to help me cope with the extra stress. I'm also working more hours than usual, and that's been very helpful. I have, an amazing family and amazing friends who are supportive, as well as running and staying active and trying to keep some normalcy, as much normalcy as possible in my life. Thank you.
And I'm sure your family is a big part of that.
Yeah.
So Lauren Flowers says, do you think that staying COVID-free is a reality, especially as restrictions are loosening?
No, no. I think that I'm going to speak just to the nursing homes. Any nursing homes that haven't had a COVID outbreak and they think they're safe, they've made it to the other side of COVID and they're never going to have a problem. I think that's really not realistic. As we open things back up, in many places, opening things up maybe a little too early. A lot of people with attitudes that, it's fake, that COVID-19 really isn't a thing, and engaging in dangerous behavior. I think until we have a vaccine, it's going to be a problem.
And that's part of the reason we wanted to do these COVID Chronicles, is because there's so many people saying this isn't real. Another question online is mental health services, are they available for your staff for this?
Yeah, actually, the
That's from
state
Dina
of Maryland
Lambert.
set something up for nursing home staff where they can get mental health services at no cost to them. And, it's there is this bereavement component. I have lost some of my patients who I have taken care of since 2007.
Wow.
Nursing home staff, we love our residents. They are like our family, our parents, former soldiers, my Marine who did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. He's, I love these guys so much. And to have so many of them die in such a short period of time has been very difficult to deal with.
All right, Jam, we're about to.
Just one last point
Go
very
ahead.
quickly, because we're talking about the idea of death and how death has run rampant because of this disease. But I also think that to get the death toll numbers out there has also been a curse, because a lot of people, and Mike Winter brought this up in his comment online, a lot of people think, okay, well, you didn't die, so you're good. It's not that big of a deal if you didn't die. But then you're talking about, again, these are nursing home patients. These are our elderly. Like you said, a lot of our veterans. So, yeah, they may not be dying, but they're still suffering if they have this disease. So, can you just talk about that a little bit, about the suffering that goes on? Not
Yeah.
necessarily death,
And I've
but
heard
the
something
suffering.
about post-COVID symptoms.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, flu-like symptoms. I mean, who wants to have flu-like symptoms? You know, who wants to feel sick and you know, the aches and pains that come with this. One of the things that we saw, particularly on our dementia unit, was I knew there was a problem when I went to the unit at breakfast time and the nursing assistant had just collected all the trays and she said, all of this food is being wasted. Nobody ate. And I was just like, whoa, wait, okay, what's going on? And we tested the whole unit and almost the entire unit was positive for COVID.
Wow.
So we have had a lot of weight loss and even with, you know, trying to give Ensure and supplements. People who aren't elderly will lose weight on COVID. And we have had people who just have never been the same. They just never quite bounced back again. They're doing in our facility aggressive rehab. Everybody with COVID gets physical therapy and occupational therapy. Even with that, you know, people who were up and walking around before are not walking now. I've had a lot of people who just never bounced back, never bounced back.
All right, Jam, I want to give you the last question.
Okay, it's two. They're real quick. The first one is, I hope have you introduced your son to Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure? Because Large Marge in your name, come on. Secondly,
Mark Simpson.
You didn't notice Marge Simpson?
Secondly, there is a show that's been running for several years. Although the hair color is different, I would hope if you guys have a chance to sit down and watch. Are you a fan of either of the Simpsons or Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure?
Both. Both.
Oh.
Those are your final questions.
I just want to go over some of
The Big Shoe Dance. Pee Wee Herman, Big Shoe Dance is my go-to karaoke song.
Right.
Tequila. There's only 3 words in the whole song.
some final comments online. Dr. Marjorie, thank you. This is from Beverly Willis. Thank you for your candor and your passion. Robin Johnson says, I know how stressful this time is. She's also a veterinarian, so she's talking. She has double caseloads. And Lauren Flower says, thank you for all that you do. So
yes, thank you.
We have a ton more questions, but we're definitely out of time. I truly want to thank you for joining us to share your story and for putting yourself at risk to help protect people, to protect the public. So we truly thank you for that.
Thank you
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Tequila, tequila. Liz.
Damn. Did you say tequila?
I did say tequila, tequila. You don't sign off in this country with that?
I thought you said tequila.
Okay.
You don't know who that is?
He doesn't know who that is. I know who that is.
Tila? The only Tila I know is from He-Man. That's
all right.
Yeah, we got to get you up to par. But I think that was a great interview.
It was a great interview.
Thank you for adding her to the show.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Dr. Simpson was amazing. She
Yeah.
was very. I do appreciate her candor because she shared a lot with us that we may not have otherwise known. All right, so we're back. We're our time is past, so we have to catch up. So on to our hot topics. Real quick, how this works. Each host comes with hot topics they want to discuss, mostly based on discussions with you, the viewers, or just anything that they saw that was might be interesting to you. I'll pick one of the hosts to start us off. They'll tell us what's going on, ask a question to the other co-hosts, and we'll start the timer for the discussion and talk it out. Once time is up, you'll see Genji. He's little today.
Hey, Genji, what's up?
Oh, yeah, mini Genji.
And once we see him, we'll end the conversation and move on to the next host and talk about whatever they want. Remember, viewers, your comments and questions help drive the conversation, as always. So comment away. Today, let's start with Lizzie.
Hey.
Is this a truth,
So
lie, or shenanigans?
this is a definite shenanigan, although the effort is truthful. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go back a little bit to campaign 2008, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Tea Party, birtherism. Is Barack Obama a true American citizen? Was he born on American soil? It took a little while to get that sorted out. It took Barack Obama, he had to initially say, yes, I was born here. And the question became a part of the conversation because his dad is from Kenya, but his mother is American, was born in the United States. But Donald Trump challenged his U.S. citizenship, challenged whether he had the right to run for president. And so Barack Obama not only had to denounce what current President Trump was saying, but also had to provide his short form birth certificate and then his long form birth certificate. And after a while, everything's kind of subsided because they were proven to be liars. So here we are now in 2020. We have Joe Biden as the presidential nominee. Last week, he announced that Kamala Harris is his vice presidential nominee. And she comes from an immigrant family. She is the daughter of immigrants. Her mother is from India. Her father is Jamaican. But with that, Trump is now jumping on the birtherism conversation again. Let's go to the video tape.
Got it.
The president is also ramping up his attacks on Harris, encouraging the same birther conspiracy theory he pushed for years against former President Obama. Although Harris is a U.S. citizen born in Oakland, California to immigrant parents, the president was asked about a Newsweek opinion piece questioning whether she is eligible to run for vice president, a suggestion the Biden campaign called abhorrent.
I heard it today that she doesn't meet the requirements. And by the way, the lawyer that wrote that piece is a very highly qualified, very talented lawyer. I have no idea if that's right.
So my question to you is, and I'm going to give you a little bit of backdrop that a lot of people may not know. So if we go back to when Barack Obama ran against John McCain for president, John McCain was born in Panama. A lot of people don't know that. Mitt Romney has a parent who I believe was born in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check my records for that. Ted Cruz, who once ran for president, his dad is from Cuba. Mm-hmm. Ted Cruz was born in Canada. So my question to the panel is, why is U.S. citizenship only a thing when it applies to brown folk who are running for president?
I'll admit, I wanted to make it a thing when Ted Cruz was running. I tried.
I mean, and actually, we can call him by his birth name, his government name, Rafael Theodore Cruz. Okay. He chose to whitewash himself. His name is Rafael. But continue, Neo.
Cruz.
I mean, it's the typical. I mean, to be honest, Kamala is very clean, just like Obama was very clean. I mean, nobody's perfect, obviously. Nobody's going to be a perfect candidate. Nobody's done everything perfectly. But Kamala, in general, is a safe candidate. There's not a lot of dirt to find on her. So what else do they have to do but to try to attack her for things that she can't control, like her skin color and her background? Those are things that she can't control. Those are things, or being a woman. Those are the things that she's going to be attacked for because you can't hit her on anything else. So it's not surprising to me.
Or they're not trying to hit on the other things that are legitimate.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Jam?
I mean, I'd say that they just, that's part of his playbook. Like,
that's true.
Like, it's not like anyone else is really doing it in this case. Like, Trump has a playbook and he goes to, like, when something goes wrong, he's like, divert. Let me see what I can flash up on the screen. That's not me in this case doing something silly. And in this case, Kamala, it's just like it's the first punch. Like alleged American Kamala is it's what he does. It's not even a thing. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, we're just in chapter 1 of the BS as it starts to flow down the mountain.
All about looking different. So if someone looks different, he knows that his base is going to be like, oh, are they really American because they're not white?
Right. Well, they need a reason. That's the thing. I don't think he knows his base needs a starting point. And then they can have a reason to be riled up. It doesn't have to be logical. It just needs to be, here's your starting point, go. That's how I look at it.
So
I just find it interesting because we're talking about Donald Trump, who is ratcheting up all of this conversation about who's really American and who isn't, when his first wife was an immigrant. His third wife was an illegal immigrant for a while before, she got her papers. And then her parents were chain immigrants for a while, something that Trump has spoken out against vehemently over the past 3 years. But more importantly, his grandfather, German immigrant. His grandfather and his grandmother, German immigrants. So we're talking about a guy who comes from immigrant people, who has laid down with women who were not born in this country, but yet because they're not, because they weren't brown, it was never a problem. But now all of a sudden we had Barack Obama initially, and now we have Kamala Harris, who not only is brown, but she's a woman. And it's an issue and it's a problem, and his people are falling for it. And the sad thing is, Black folks are falling for it, because now the conversation is getting into not just if she is a certifiable U.S. citizen, but again, as we talked about on last week's show, is she really Black? Now people are starting to go back and try to break down her Jamaican-born father's heritage. Well, okay, how much Black does he have in him? Are his parents from Britain? Do they have any type of Indian ancestry? It just goes on and on and on, simply because she's not white.
Right.
Simply because she's not white.
So
I think Mike Winter summed it up best when he said they weren't from S-hole countries.
I was going to say, so
shithole countries. They're not from shithole countries. So, although, did he qualify Jamaica as a shithole country? I know he said Haiti.
Haiti for sure, but so I actually read the article thoroughly that your boy Trump was talking about, but they actually the editor added a piece to it. So he said this op-ed is being used by some as a tool to perpetuate racism and xenophobia. We apologize. The essay by John Eastman was intended to explore a minority legal argument about the definition of who is a natural-born citizen in the United States. But to many readers, this essay inevitably conveyed the ugly message that Senator Kamala Harris, a woman of color and the child of immigrants, was somehow not truly American. The op-ed was never intended to spark or take part in the racist lie of birtherism. So I thought...
But again, I say Mitt Romney, so I did do a quick research. Mitt Romney's father was born in Mexico. John McCain was born in Panama. Why didn't we have this same conversation about them? That author knew
because they don't look different.
Knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew what type of conversation this was going to conjure up. It never happens with white folks who have immigrant parents or who perhaps were not born here originally, but who have become naturalized citizens. It's always about brown folks.
Yep. I mean, I look at it like the way our country's attitude on racism evolved. Early on, when they had immigrants from different countries, the Irish were the evil guys for a while, and the Catholics were evil and devil worshippers for a while, and all that craziness. And we've broken down all those lines because you can't even call them races, really. The different people have mixed so well. You drop some craziness like that, and your mama's husband is half of whatever you just complained about. But the only line you can draw is that color barrier. Tan comes from outside this country. So you're Black-ish, which takes us to our next election.
Ish. Ooh, good segue, Jam. Good segue.
Real quick online before we move to our next segue. So, and I kind of agree with this. So Jacqueline Robinson says John Eastman had an axe to grind because Kamala Harris beat him in a political race. And, that kind of speaks to Newsweek's comment where I wasn't buying it myself.
That's my sister spitting that knowledge. That's my sister spitting that knowledge. Go ahead, Jackie.
All right, Ade said birtherism is a page from the racism playbook. So it's not just the Trump playbook; it's the racism playbook that Trump is using. So
a word.
Someone is reading the Trump to use.
Jacqueline Robinson also said we're not having this birther mess, and mainstream media needs to stop entertaining it, which I totally agree with. All right, Jam. Next topic.
Right.
You already segued into it. Is this a truth, lie, or shenanigans?
This is a shenanigans, I believe is the best way to describe it. It's a shenanigan. I'm here to talk with you about about your skin color. You're blackish. But before I start, let's let Kenya talk to you about it for a second. Do we have video or just a picture?
A really interesting time in Disney's sort of, growth.
Ooh, thanks, Trevor.
Interesting time in our country's growth. And it was the most blatantly partisan episode of Blackish we'd ever done. That's a hard place to be, for America's Broadcasting Corporation, they already led us to a lot of things. And I felt like some of the things that we could not agree upon in terms of what should be or what shouldn't be there, it was not something that I felt like at that time I wanted to compromise on.
Hey, Trevor.
So what he's talking. Sorry, Trevor, did you get that? Liz's number will be emailed to you later. So Kenya, the reason we're here, Barris, is talking about his episode that ABC would not show about 2 years ago in February that had to do with the cast or the cast as they show up on the show being anti-Trump and a lot of the feelings and stuff that were going around at the time. Kaepernick was fresh on everyone's mind and his taking a knee and a lot of the other stuff that people were feeling at the time. And so we fast forward to today when they finally decide to release it. And this is his comments on that release. Keep in mind that ABC, where they're shown, is owned by Disney, who we are all familiar with. And of course, none of these people ever have to deal with 45, but that's neither here nor there. So my question, so it's finally being released onto Netflix where you can watch it.
Hulu.
When I originally saw this episode, and Hulu. So my original question to the host was, when I first saw this article, my first response was, who cares now? And so, what do you guys think?
I'll start. I actually watched the episode. I don't know if did either of you watch it yet. I know Lizzie hasn't.
I have not watched it.
So I actually watched the episode. It was a really good episode. And I don't know, Blackish has done some really deep episodes of, talking about Juneteenth and talking about the police brutality going on. They've talked a lot. This one was very Trump-centric. It was very specifically directed at Trump. So at the time, since it was like his first year in office, because this is about 3 years, the episode is about 3 years old. I kind of get it. Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
No,
It's
2017.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was, my notes said 2. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So it's 3 years old, and so it was like his first year in office, and there was a lot going on, and it was a direct attack towards Trump. But I don't know. I thought it was. The problem is it's extremely relevant today. So when I watched the episode, it felt like it was written for today. Nothing's changed in the 3 years. It's gotten worse. Matter of fact, I like that they released it now because when you watch the episode, you're like, oh my God, it's gotten, not only has it gotten bad, it was almost like a prophecy of where we were headed. And it all happened. So it's a really great episode. I think everybody should watch it. Lizzie?
I think the fact that they shelved it in 2017 spoke to ABC's initial approach or outlook on topics of race, topics of what type of message Trump was putting out back then. Because listen, he hasn't changed much in his ideology from 2017 to 2020. He has, upped the ante. But this, as Maya Angelou says, when people show you who they are, but the first time, believe them. He showed us who he was in 2017. And so I thought it spoke volumes that ABC in 2017 chose this issue, this particular episode to put on the shelf, considering all the other topics. Because I watch Blackish, we all watch Blackish, and they delve into some very, very political but pertinent issues.
It's a great show.
It's a great show. I mean, I don't like Dre's character in the show, but it's a great show. Mike Winter and I, from that show, I think at least once a week, we're screaming Black Jesus, Black Jesus. But to me, it was always very telling about where ABC stood. They didn't want to, ruffle the feathers too much back then. They wanted to appear kind of neutral and not necessarily offend the establishment. I think, now once the writer and producer came out, because he petitioned them, it wasn't like they decided on their own that they were going to, release this now. He sent them a letter, a very public letter on social media where he was like, I think the time is now. And you can't, given the climate, they would be fools not to air that episode now. So yes, Jen, I am going to now watch it because I think it is a very interesting look at what the climate was back then, again, 2017, versus what it is 2020, amped up, the volume turned all the way up. But I always found it suspect that ABC and Disney took the stance that they did back in 2017, given everything that was going on then with Kaepernick, with the culture, with people kneeling and possibly not standing for.
I just want to say though,
and with what Trump was giving out back then.
I just want to say though, Kenya Barris was very spoke very positively of ABC and understood their decision. He said in this interview he was very clear that ABC has allowed them to do a lot. And I think Blackish has been allowed to do a lot more than I expected them to do. I mean, they really tackle some very tough issues directly. And so he's saying he loves the CEO and the discussions he's had, and he was actually thankful that he said he understood, is what I'm just trying to get that out. He was understanding of the position they were in at the time.
I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think he understood, but that doesn't mean he didn't disagree.
Sure. And he said he disagreed.
You have to give the PR spin before they yank your show.
There's always a balance between disagreeing and, understanding.
Of course.
So, Jackie Robinson.
Put it out there that I think that, he got where they were coming from, but it didn't mean he agreed with it.
No, he certainly didn't.
So Jackie Robinson mentioned that ABC had no problem airing Roseanne's appeal to Trump voters. Mike Wolf threw out that Disney was trying to acquire Fox around that time. I have to check that.
I mean, he also fired Roseanne, so I mean...
And was afraid Trump would put the kibosh on it. But she got fired for something else.
I know.
She got fired for acting out. But my thought on this was, originally when they said they were going to release it, I was like, y'all are too late. I mean, if it's well written and pertinent now, I'll watch it. It's too late because that was in my mind, that was their moment to take their stand. That was their moment to say something. And all this BS that we've seen with all these groups that are like, we're taking action now, Bama. Your time, your moment was then.
Bama, the DC lingo.
Right. Your time was then.
I can buy that argument.
So that was my first response. My second response
I am going to watch it.
I am too. I'm looking forward.
I can buy that argument. It was a good argument.
But that was my initial response. That was why I brought it up here as a sizzling hot topic.
So
good topic.
Watch it. I'll post it up on the Facebook page. Watch it and tell us what you think.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So this is mine. Truth, Lies, or Shenanigans. So we are going to be talking about, you may not have heard, but Jerry Maguire and Boys in the Hood star Cuba Gooding Jr. has at least 22 women. Oh, this is by the way, this is shenanigans and lies, but 22 women. Well, okay.
Right, it's shenanigans.
Both. I'm going with lies too. It's my topic. I say it's lies.
This is crazy. Truth, lies, shenanigans, craziness.
So, Cuba Gooding has at least 22 women who have accused him of sexual misconduct. Back in October, Cuba pled not guilty to 6 sexual abuse charges. According to TMZ, Cuba and his lawyer, Peter Tumbekis, appeared in a Manhattan courthouse this past Thursday for a preliminary hearing for his trial. While presenting their argument, the lawyer reportedly raised the idea that a woman's insecurity about having small breasts can directly impact how she views reality, especially in relation to sexual assault. Rebecca's reportedly used one of Gooding's accuser's blog posts as evidence, where she spoke about women's self-esteem and body issues. So, I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to start with Lizzie. Women who have small breasts, are they delusional that they can't tell the difference between groping and not being groped?
I can't really speak on that because I've never been a woman who had small breasts. Wendy and Lisa are very firm and full. But I do think it is a disgusting take to apply to your client's defense, especially when we're talking about sexual assault. When we're talking about the way he is interacting with women, and your first go is, okay, we're going to talk about the little titty women. Like, what is that? What is that? That has nothing to do with the fact that your client allegedly was groping women, was grabbing them in places where they didn't appreciate or they didn't consent to.
So I have a quick question for you. Hold on. So you said you haven't had to deal with small breasts, but have you had to deal with being groped?
In my breasts?
Wherever. Breasts?
Your forehead?
I mean, because that's part of,
Yes. So my big thing was always, it was usually from the back side, not from the front side. So I have a tattoo on my right shoulder. And I've never had an ass. So no one has ever tried to grab my ass ever in life.
Okay.
But unless we were in that place. But I would always, when I was in New York and in my party days and I would go out with my bestie, I would always take exception to random guys coming up to me and rubbing my back with their bare hands, or grabbing me by my waist in an intimate way that would suggest that we know one another, because guys don't interact that way. Like, if you saw Julius up, well, maybe I don't know what y'all got going on, but if you saw Julius
up, you
jam up in the
where's that comment coming from? What y'all got going on?
That you hadn't seen in a while, or that you were an admirer of and you wanted to talk to, would you immediately run up to them and grab them by the waist, rub their leg, rub their back? Like, you can say hi without all of that physical, intimate interaction that I have not given you permission for. And so I think that's what we're talking about here. It doesn't have anything to do with the size of a woman's breast. And I guarantee you, there are a lot of small breast women out here who have amazing bodies, and they're still being touched in ways that they don't appreciate. Now, again, Wendy and Lisa have been going strong for years over here. Beautiful. But I do not like people touching me. That is one thing where I'm just like, okay, bruh, you need to step back.
Yeah. My wife's the same way.
Back.
But so, okay.
Because that's not how to interact with people.
And since you're the only woman on the show right now, so okay, if we forget about small-breasted, what about self-esteem issues? Does that make you delusional? If you have self-esteem issues, do you feel delusional about being groped? I'm trying to go with his argument, but whatever.
I mean, I think that some women who have small breasts have confidence issues, absolutely. That's why a lot of women have, gotten breast augmentation, breast enhancements. That has nothing to do, I think, with this argument. Like, one has nothing to do with the other. And I guarantee you, if you go into the 22 women that, are accusing him of touching them inappropriately, not all of them are a part of the itty bitty titty committee. Like, not all of them have small breasts. And I think this is, again, assigning the incident to the woman versus the man that is being accused, and that's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Jam?
I would like to mention that back when me and Cuba were members of the Avengers, it was a few years ago.
Buddies.
Yeah, we used to roll, and so we noticed that the women with the stronger powers usually had larger, breasts, and the ones who were weaker, they had smaller breasts. It's just one of those rules. So we used to talk about it a lot. Then we left the Avengers, and so the thing is, like, it's one of those things to do. He's clearly groping to try to save something, and I can't even walk down that argument road because it's so asinine. When I first saw that, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Like, is this guy one of Trump's lawyers? Like, is this the best you could do? And so, I mean, outside of the like insecurity issues and stuff like that, to me, it's just one of the clearest indicators above all the other people we've seen who've gotten caught being inappropriate and almost arrested and been arrested. His is like the most clear. He doesn't even have a good excuse to start with. Like, come on. You're like, go to pass go. Right. There's like, man, why are you talking?
Let me ask you this: do you think he did it? Like, do you think he was groping women?
You think he didn't do it? You think he didn't do it? That's my answer to you.
I don't think, and I'm just assigning this to the overall picture. I don't think 22 different women got in a room and decided what lie they were going to come up with.
So you think he did it?
I think that there is some truth in some cases. I don't think that, I'm not saying that every allegation is true, but I think there's some truth in some cases. And in the initial complaint, actually, there's videotape. In the initial complaint from a couple of years ago, there's videotape, and I think that's.
But it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show. I was going to say,
I think that's left up to interpretation. Like but a lot of times when that initial complaint comes out, that gives people a voice, a power to be like, okay, I think now I have the courage to say something because this happened to someone else.
Yep.
But this can't be your argument. Like, going back to the initial, your initial, this can't be your argument. Like, he's not guilty. Small-breasted women are delusional. Like, that cannot
There's
be
no way he wins this.
Right. I usually have soap with me, and I slip, and I'm reaching out, and I just happen to be a woman right there. Sorry, 23 times. A lot of soap. Come on, man. Like,
yeah, at least he needs a better lawyer is what he needs. All right. Real quick, we saw Ernest Cooper said victim blaming argument. Robin Johnson, women have to automatically want to accept this attention. Horrible to assume that women have to have some mental issue to not want a man to touch them.
Good point, Robin. Good point, Robin.
And Jacqueline Robbins said, keep your hands to yourself. And Mike Winter said, you're asking Liz this question? So.
Right.
All right, guys, that's our hot topics for the day. So thank you guys. Before you leave, we have a fun game. Lighten the mood a little bit.
We got the cheater.
All right, Jan, you got the scoreboard, right?
Yes, I have the scoreboard. Yes. I did not do names though.
Oh, that's great.
There we go. Things are better now.
All right, we'll work with it.
I don't even know what today's game is.
So, yep. All right, so today's game is simple trivia game. Truth.
All right, simple trivia.
Yeah, it's simple. Yeah. Truth or lie. I'll display and read a phrase. We'll each answer truth or lie. Whoever gets it right gets a point. So as always, the person with the most points wins and gets the final thought for the show. So, for example, during a free fall, is it possible to talk to your fellow jumpers? Truth or lie?
Truth. Wait, is that a question or a...
During a free fall, is it possible to talk to your fellow jumpers?
I mean, you can speak, right?
Yeah, it's truth. It is possible. Whether they hear you, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they have a headphone, you can talk to anybody. So I'm going with false just because it's a stupid question. So let's see. False.
But why? Like, if I can speak.
False.
Yeah, I've seen people screaming and falling, and like they expect people to answer.
But can they hear you?
But talking to someone does not mean they can hear you.
Right.
You know,
boo on that.
Blame the app. I'm gonna send you the app. I'm gonna send you the app owner. I get the point. I don't really care. I get the point because I knew it was a stupid question.
Hear me.
All right. If you cry in space, the tears. Do you give me my point?
You said that was a practice one. You out of control.
All right, you're right. I did. All right. If you cry,
cheater.
All right. If you cry in space, the tears just stick to your face. I'm going with false.
This is a question for y'all.
I'm going lie. It's a lie.
All right, as in false too. Which yours, Liz? No.
Oh, it's true.
Oh wow.
So no points for us. All right.
I thought they just wouldn't come out. They just sit there and wait to come out.
All right. Practicing a lot of sex stops hair loss in men. Oh yeah.
First of all, how do you practice sex?
I don't know.
Right. That's why. No.
Maybe this app is some Ukrainian app or something like that.
On Jeremy, the porn star probably had sex with like 20 billion people. He still got a head full of hair. False.
False. I'm going false.
Same.
False. All right. We'll all get a point. All right. On average, over the course of a lifetime, men have more sexual partners than women.
True.
False.
True.
Over the course of a lifetime, I'm going with false. Because I think women have more sex in later years. Oh, damn it.
Family. Come on.
All right.
Come on now.
All right. So, animals can predict natural disasters.
True.
True, I think.
I'm going with true.
All truth?
Oh, it's false. Well,
oh, wow.
All right. So no point.
I don't believe that.
Lithium, atomic number is 17.
Why not 18?
I'm going false. I don't know. I don't even know.
False.
I think it's earlier than that.
All right. False.
I don't remember.
I got false. I said false. What did you say?
Everybody did.
You said true?
Everyone said false.
Okay, good.
Everyone
I think it's like 3 or 4, by the way.
You lost track of, okay, good. All right.
No, I was talking about lithium. Lithium's atomic number is earlier than that number. Because I'm a nerd.
Kevin Thaxton said false about the sex. Women just don't talk about it. That's what he says.
Bam.
I'm with you on that.
Yep.
So this is going to be a topic for another show.
We're going to bring it up. Yeah, you get okay. Bring it up in the next show. Hummingbirds can have 20 orgasms per minute.
Oh. You know what? True. Why not?
I'm going with true.
False.
All right. Let's see. False. Dang.
Oh wow. Liz cheated there. Oh, you cheat.
I don't know how they know the answers to this one, but Jesus Christ died at 32.
I mean, I don't believe in Jesus Christ, so how could he die at 32? First of all,
so your answer is automatically
by
wrong.
the way, the atomic number of lithium is 3.
Bam.
That's according to Ernest Cooper and Mike Winter.
That's what I'm saying. That was
I don't even remember the
Ernest
question.
Cooper and Thaxton say 33, so I'm going with them. False.
What?
I mean, Santa died at 25. Like,
DeSantis not dead. You're a liar.
I think
False.
they Googled it, so I'm going with them. I'm going with them. What y'all got?
All right, false.
Yeah, like you got.
Everybody said false.
You got proof.
What you got, Jam?
I said false.
Okay. False. And how y'all know he's died at 33? How do you even know that? All right. Oh, so that's it. Lizzie wins. All right. Good job, Lizzie. 5 points. All right. Oh, but
right,
let's get the answer to this. Alfred Hitchcock had no belly button as it was removed during surgery.
False.
You say false?
False.
Let's go.
Because it sounds insane.
It's true.
Oh!
Like, what is this? All right.
Random.
All right. That's our game
That's
show.
like the best part in the group.
All right. So that's our. Oh, so Lizzie's the winner. So Lizzie, you get the final thought for the show. Before we close out, let's get some shout outs. Lizzie?
Just a shout out to Sports Illustrated magazine. Today is the anniversary of the first published edition of Sports Illustrated back on August 16th, 1954. Sports Illustrated, I was there as a journalist for 18 years. Sports Illustrated was my first love, the first thing that I dedicated myself to. And even though it is now a shell of its former self, I still have much love for the organization, for the magazine, for all of the editors, writers, mentors that I had there who shaped me as a journalist. So happy birthday, SI.
All right, Jam.
Shout out to Neo, East, Nia, who else? And Avi, and a bunch of other folks. Good looking out, y'all.
All right. All right, I'm with a few people online. We had Rupka, Mike Winter, Kevin, Ernest. We had Jacqueline. Ade joined us. So great, yeah, we had a great turnout today. So I'm gonna send my shout out to Dr. Marjorie Simpson. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Great COVID Chronicles.
Lauren as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and also to Posh.fit, Posh Liking and Fitness. Great boxing class. You gotta check it out. All right.
G5.
G3. All right, guys. We hope you had a good time. Maybe learn something, gain a new perspective. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe at TLS Live Show or www.tlslive.show. Lizzie keeps our Facebook popping, so you gotta get on there and see what's going on Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. On Wednesday, 8 p.m., we'll have Lizzie, East, Robbie, and myself, and we'll be talking to Olympian David Oliver about the Olympics not happening this season and the effects of COVID on the sport. Should be an awesome show. Again, live 8 p.m. Sunday. Lizzie? Wednesday. 8 p.m. Wednesday. You guys got to be there. All right, Lizzie, you got the final thought for the night.
Nothing profound, nothing new. I just want everyone to remain safe. Please social distance properly. Please wear your mask. We are not out of this. This is not a joke. This is not a hoax. We just want you guys to be safe and sound. So do what you need to do. Wear your mask, listen to the experts, and social distance properly. Love y'all. Love y'all.
Peace out, guys.